Hello, my wonderful fourth graders. So this week for math, we've been working on area model. So I've made another video to help teach you how to do area model when we're doing 3 digits by 1 digit number. So now remember, when you're doing an area model, you've got to start off your first step with drawing a rectangle. Now this was a 3 digit by 1 digit. So when we draw a rectangle, we're going to have to make it a little bit longer because we have another place to add in with it. So this time when I draw my rectangle, draw it nice and long. And this time I'm going to need 3 boxes because we're working with a 3-digit number. So however many digits there are in your first number, that's how many boxes you're going to have to draw. When you divide your rectangle out, we're going to have to draw 2 lines this time to divide it into 3 boxes, keeping in mind that you need a little bit more space for your hundreds, and a little bit smaller for your tens, and a little bit smaller section for your ones. So this time I'm going to make a line that would be, this first box would be for my hundreds, then I'm going to have a box for my tens, and then I'm going to have a little bit smaller box for my ones. Okay, now who remembers what would be our first step after we've drawn our rectangle? We've got it divided into our 3 places for our 3-digit number. What would be our first step? What do we do now? Good. We're going to look at that first number, 462, and we're going to use expanded form to expand it or to break it out into its different places. So when you look at this number, 462, okay, I'm going to start with the hundreds. And when you say the number, you hear what is in each place. 462. And so when I start with my hundreds, there's a 4 there in the hundreds place. And I know that that 4 represents 4 hundreds. So I'm going to write that number. That's what I said, 400. Don't forget to put your little plus sign. Let's do our tens place. 60. 462. There's a 6 in the tens place. That 6 represents the 60 when you say 462. Put my next little plus sign. And then in the ones place, I would have, there's a 2 in the ones place. And so I know there's just 2 ones in that one. So I have used expanded form, and I've done 400 plus 60 plus 2. Now, who remembers what would be my next step? What do I do next? Good. Whatever number you're multiplying by, you put on the left side. So I'm multiplying 462 by 5. So I'm going to put a 5 over here on the left side. Okay. Now, who remembers what we would do next? I'm listening to all these answers coming in. All right, you're going to take, and we're going to multiply whatever number's on the top of the rectangle by the 5 on the left. And I'm going to start with the hundreds place. Now remember, I see some zeros. I'm going to go ahead and just leave them in what place they are. So there's a 0 on the ones. I'm going to put a 0 there. There's a 0 on the tens. I'm going to leave it there. And then all I have to do is multiply the 4 by the 5. Now what is 4 times 5? 4 groups of 5 is 20. I'm going to write that number right here in front of my 0. I'm going to say 20. Now I have just made a number. What is 400 times 5? Good. 400 times 5 is 2,000. Okay, so I have 2,000 in my first box. Let's go to our second box. Let's take care of our tens. There's a 0. I'm going to leave it there in the ones place. What is 6 times 5? Good. 6 times 5 is 30. I'm going to write 30. I don't have a 30 in my box now. I have a what? What number did we just create? 300. 60 times 5 is now 300. You move to your ones box. 2 times 5. What is 2 times 5? There's no zeros to work with right now. 2 times 5 is just, good, 10. So I write 10. Now who remembers what our next step is? Good. We're going to take the numbers now, got in all of each one of our boxes there, and we're going to stack them and we're going to add them. Now if you look, this 3-digit problem has an extra box and it's got in the thousands place. So when we're doing our stacking and our adding, remember it's very important that you keep things lined up in the correct place, because if you don't, you're going to get the wrong answer. You're not going to add correctly. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to write 2,000. And I'm going to add 300. So my 3 is going to go under the 0 here in the hundreds place. My 10s and my 1s, 300. And then my 10 only has a 10 and a 1s place. So I put the 1 in the 10s place, the 0 in the 1s place. So all of my 1s, my 10s, my hundreds, my thousands are stacked up on top of each other. I'm going to draw my line underneath, plus sign, and I'm going to add. Well, the 1s, there's nothing but a 0, so all them zeros add up to 0. The 10s place, 0 plus 1 would be 1. The hundreds place, 0 plus 3 would be 3. 2 plus nothing down under it in the thousands place, you just bring down that 2, would be 2,310. So I now know that 462 times 5 equals 2,310. Okay? And you guys, of course, can practice as much as you need to. You know, you guys can, if you've got other brothers or sisters at home, or mom and dad or somebody, you know, guys can practice giving each other problems and having each other draw boxes and figuring out the answers. But let's go ahead and do one more problem together. Let's say we had, let's do 826 times 7. Actually, if you will, pause this video right here, and I want you to take a few minutes to try to go ahead and solve this one on your own. And then when we come back together in a minute, when you get finished, you can unpause it, and we'll go through it and we'll check our answers together. So hit pause on your video, work your problem out, and then we'll come back together when you finish the video and we'll go over it. Okay, so hopefully you just took time to pause the video and work this problem out on your own. So let's go over it and see if you got it right, okay? So when we're doing area model, remember we're going to draw a nice big long rectangle, and this one needs to be a little longer since it's a 3-digit number. You should have divided your rectangle into 3 boxes to represent this 3-digit number up here at the top. Okay, 826, 3 digits. I need 3 boxes. My hundreds box is going to be a little bigger than my 10s and my 1s box. So there's my 3 boxes to go with my 3 digits. Hopefully you knew to do your expanded form. 826, and we're going to expand it out into each place. I know that if there's 8 hundreds, then that must be 800. I know that if there are 2 10s, that 2 there represents 2 10s is the same thing as saying 20, 10, 20. So 2 10s is 20. Don't forget to put your plus signs. And I hope that you knew that in the 1s place there was a 6, that 6 represented 6 1s. So when you look at your problem, you should have 800 plus 20 plus 6. Okay? And then you're going to take care of your 7. Remember, whatever number you're multiplying by, you should have just put over here on the left. So you should have put 7 over here on the left side. Okay? Then let's do our multiplying for each box. See some zeros. I'm just going to go ahead and add my zeros. Hopefully you did that too. And be careful. One thing too, make sure you put the correct amount of zeros. I've noticed a lot when teaching area model, the students don't always bring down the correct amount of zeros. And then of course, if they don't put the correct amount of zeros, then your answer is not going to be right. So be careful. So like in 800, there's 2 zeros. You need 2 zeros in your box. And then multiply 8 times 7. And what's 8 times 7? Hopefully you knew that 8 times 7 was 56. So you put a 56 there. So 800 times 7 is 5,600. You move to your 10s box. 1 0 and 20. 1 0 in your answer there. 2 times that 7 is 14. So I hope you put a 14 there. So you should have gotten a 140 there in your 10s box. And then the last one, your 1s box, 6 times 7. 6 times 7 you should have put was 42. Okay. One thing too, if you didn't know that 6 times 7 was 42, and maybe you thought 6 times 7 was 63 or something, then of course if you miss the answer there, then you're going to miss the answer for the whole problem. So this is one reason why you guys have been practicing your multiplication facts and trying to get stronger and faster at those facts because of when we're going to expand. And now we are using your multiplication facts to do even bigger problems. So please make sure that you are practicing those facts and that you're being careful, especially in this ones box when you're doing your multiplication facts. Okay? Then your next step should have been to take your answers in your box, stack them up, and add them. So 5,600. You should have put your 140 next, and then your 42. And I hope you kept them all stacked according to their places. And so when you added them up, you should have gotten that the ones place, 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. The tens place, 0 plus 4 plus 4, 4 plus 4 is 8. Your hundreds place, you have 6 plus 1 was 7. And then your 5 has nothing under, so you just bring it down. So 5,782. So you've, hopefully, if you did everything correct, 826 times 7, 5,782. If you did not get that answer, go back and double check. Look to see what you did wrong because you don't want to keep making that mistake. Maybe you didn't bring down a 0. Maybe you missed the simple multiplication fact. But go back and check. Or maybe you didn't line your numbers up in your addition problem. See what you did wrong so that you don't keep making that mistake. All right, keep practicing this week. You can always, like I said, do extra problems. And you guys have a note to do on your worksheet. You will have a quiz this week. So practice as much as you can on these to get good at them.